What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod. I am on YouTube at March 4th Pod. I'm over there on TikTok at March 4th Podcast. Hey, you know what? If you made it here, then that means you found me somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you taking the time to check out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman Podcast. How is everybody doing, man? I hope that life finds you well here in 2025. This is one of my favorite times of the year. March Madness just started. We'll know the field of the Sweet 16 as we're coming up into this week, because this is hitting y'all's ears on Tuesday, the 25th. So I hope that everybody's doing well, but this is my favorite time of the year, man. NBA playoff picture is taking shape. NHL playoff picture is taking shape. Baseball's coming back. March Madness is in full swing. It truly is like my favorite time of the year, man. Spring is here. We get longer days. The sun is out longer, which I think is great for everybody's mental health, man. Those gray days. I love winter. Truly, I do love the snow. I grew up in the Midwest, as some of y'all know. So I loved the snowfall, man. Standing outside, as cheesy as this may sound, when it's snowing, and like that silence of it is just it's very peaceful. And then as you get older, you got to get out there and scrape your car off and do the driveway so you don't fall on your butt. So as an adult, I didn't enjoy it as much as I was a kid. You know, you'd watch the news, the local news, to see if school was closed. What a time to be alive, man. Now these kids just get texts. They don't even got to get out of bed and turn on the TV. They just get a text on their phone. Hey, Jimmy, no school today, all right? But yeah, man, as much as I love winter, I'm a goofball, folks. And I didn't even have any coffee today. A little bit of caffeine in the green tea I had, but I'm just pumped for this week's show and this time of the year. But yeah, here in Nashville, man, it gets dark at like 4 o'clock in the winter. So it's pretty gnarly. You know, you get up early, it's dark. You get off of work, it's dark. It's tough sledding. So I'm excited that it's getting warmer and I can get outside a little bit more. And I'm excited to continue giving you guys these episodes, man. I say it on every show. Pete and repeat, as my ma would say. But I truly am very blessed and very fortunate to be in this position to give you guys this content. And it's cool to see it growing, and the show's gotten a little bit bigger every year. And I'm not saying that to toot my own horn, but it is a testament to, folks like you who are tuning in, whether or not this week's guest or band brought you here, or if you've been on board with me going back to 2020, or maybe you've been on board with me since way back in the day when a show was Bauman's Breakdown back in 2012. But in any case, revamping this bad boy back in 2019 and getting back into a full swing in 2020, or full sing, if you're really going for it. But getting back into this bad boy full swing in 2020 and bringing these episodes consistently has truly brought me a lot of joy, and I hope that it brings those of you who listen a lot of joy. Perseverance, moving forward, chasing your dreams. The ups and downs we all go through in life, man. And the journey that I've been on over these past 5 years, it's wild. And this decade, there's been so many changes in such a short period of time in my life and in the world at large, man. And I'm just grateful to give you guys these episodes. And there's some cool stuff on deck, so I hope that you stay tuned. And thank you for hopping aboard the pirate ship. So I'm just going to get right into it, man, since I have a tendency to rant, and I've already been talking for like 4 minutes. This week's guest, like I always say, man, I've met so many great people through doing this podcast. And this week's guest was actually referred to me through another referral from my buddy Mark of Bury the Darkness. Make sure you go check out those guys if you love heavy music, man, out of Arizona. They're making a lot of noise, and they're a band that you're going to hear more and more about in the coming years and months. These guys are sick, but Mark is a friend. Shout out, Mark. I love you, dude. And I got an email a little over a month ago And this guy sent me this awesome email, and he was like, "Yo, I really would love for you to get this dude on your podcast. Like he's somebody who is a diabetic, and I watched this dude do dialysis on tour, never missed a show. He's a trooper, and I think with the theme of your show, he would be great." That guy who sent me that email is Joe, who is the president of Overshadow. Awesome label. Go check them out. Shout out to Joe. And so I hit Joe up and I was like, hell yeah, man. So this week's guest is none other than Sergio Vega. He plays bass in a band called A Moment's Notice. A Moment's Notice is a metalcore band based in Sacramento, California. They were formed back in 2021, and they initially started out as a solo project for vocalist Greg Molina before eventually becoming a full band. They released their Lotus EP back in 2022, and they announced in late 2024, December of 2024, as a matter of fact, that they signed with Joe and Overshadow. So they're part of the Overshadow family. They've played shows with a bunch of different bands, including A Skylit Drive, Enterprise Earth, Fallujah, Saltwound, among others. And these guys are sick, man. So when Sergio and I talked about a month ago before this hit y'all's ears, they were about a month out from the release of their single Silver Lining Part 2, which I believe was their first with Overshadow. And since we've spoken, their new single, Blood War, just came out back on March 14th, man, and it's sick. These guys are awesome. The lyrics, the musicianship is amazing. Sergio plays bass in the band, but he's also a guitarist, so his work on the fretboard is awesome. And like I said, from that first email that Joe sent me, thanks to Mark who told Joe about me, man. Again, love you guys. You know, from that first email where he talked about just Sergio being a trooper. You know, he was diagnosed with diabetes when he was a little guy. He was only 2 years old. So this is something he's battled his whole life. And we talk about that journey that he's been on. We talk about what it's like being a musician and performing and going through dialysis treatment while he's waiting for, transplant surgery. He's a really good dude. We have a lot of music in common, including Deftones, which we geek out about. But it was so cool to get Sergio on this podcast and talk about his journey as a diabetic, talk about his journey as a musician, joining A Moment's Notice, who's making a lot of noise right now, and just geeking out about music and all things on deck for A Moment's Notice coming up in 2025. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Sergio Vega of A Moment's Notice. Here it is. Well, Sergio, thanks again so much, dude, for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it, especially being a couple hours behind out there in Cali, man. But appreciate you joining the show, brother.
I appreciate you having me.
You're welcome, man. So just as a place I like to start, and shout out to Joe for getting us in touch, man. And I love what you guys are doing in A Moment's Notice. But I know the band is based in Sacramento and formed in 2021. But for you, man, usually like where I like to start with people is how did you get into music and specifically heavy music?
So for me, it all started when I was about 12 or 13. And I had a friend of mine in middle school that gave me my very first metal record, which was Korn, Take a Look in the Mirror. That came out in 03, 04. So I was around 12 or 13 at the time. And I was heavily into rap music. And I remember my friend gave me that CD, and I was like, trying to be nice. I was like, oh, yeah, I love Korn. I have no idea who they were. and I decided to give the record a chance. And I remember slapping the CD in my boombox, and the song that got me going into metal was Counting on Me. And I think it's the third song on that record, but that's what started it.
Hell yeah, man. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. That's a great place to start. I believe Did My Time is on that album too. Underrated riff from those guys. I love those guys. Here to Stay is probably my favorite. Not probably it is. That's my favorite Korn riff. And actually when I saw them with Alice in Chains pre-COVID apocalypse in 2019
Yeah.
here in Nashville, man. They that year they did a co-headlining tour with Alice in Chains. It was on the Nothing cycle, and opening was Under Oath, and Horror was on that cycle. But if my memory serves me right, when they came out, they opened with Here to Stay, and I was like, holy crap, seeing one of your favorite bands live is like a spiritual experience. But so that was the rabbit hole moment for you with heavy music was that record, huh?
Oh yeah, that was it for me. And then I discovered Deftones, and that was it.
And at that point, man, had you been playing any instruments? Like when did you start picking up an instrument? Was it not too long after that?
So I picked up an instrument before that, and that was clarinet. And I got into it because of Squidward from SpongeBob, at the time, being a kid. And then I picked up the flute afterwards, and then at 12 I discovered what a guitar was, and my mom bought me a guitar, and that was it.
Hell yeah, man. Do you remember some of the first riffs you were learning?
Yeah, actually I was trying to learn for the longest time. I was trying to learn AC/DC's Highway to Hell, just because during that time, like, we didn't have internet at the time, and my mom never really had money for like music lessons, so I would turn on the rock station and try to like imitate some of the riffs on there, and I ended up learning AC/DC's Highway to Hell because I was in standard tuning, and everyone else starts with standard, and and then I ended up learning a Deftones song, and that was the one everyone knows, Change.
That's sick, man. Well, I bet that probably helped you as a player, man, learning by ear, because that's how people did it back in the day before the internet, before, like the online tabs and stuff. People just put on records and try to play along to it and figure it out by ear. So I'm sure as you've progressed as a player, that's been good because there's probably stuff that your ear can pick up, without even having to look at a tab now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely helped me throughout the years. Is with stuff as simple as like tunings and stuff, like different kinds of tunings. Your ear just kind of gets used to it.
Yeah, man, Deftones is another one like we were talking about before the jump. I actually started a little bit later in life with them, and they've become one of my favorite bands. I say later in life; I was like in my early 20s when I really started to get into their catalog after Diamond Eyes, man. And I just like went back. So that's I think because that was the record that I really engulfed myself in. Like you said, I mean, I knew Change and those songs, but like that was like the first record that I was like, oh my gosh, I just loved that album so much, and then went back through like their whole catalog and eventually got a chance to see him here in Nashville a couple of years ago. But yeah, Stefan, like those guys, the way Chino and him will like bounce off riffs, they're such different players, and I think it's cool how over the years, like, Stefan's like mixed in like the like eight strings, and I think even like he'll do like nine strings and stuff, and he'll get like those heavy sounds, but there's still like those really cool like lighter or like ambient atmospheric moments. Like Gore is an album like that. There's just really cool moments on that one, like Phantom Bride, where they had Jerry Cantrell did a solo on that one. Like there's just I love how that band mixes in like the atmosphere with like those kind of heavy, chuggier, sometimes thrashy moments. You know what I'm saying? Like I love that band so much. I could geek out on them all day.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think it was you were saying the ninth string, on their Ohms album, the most recent one. I think the song specifically, the spell of mathematics, he's using a ninth string, and Gore was more of an experimental album, kind of like Saturday Night Wrist was. And I found out Saturday Night Wrist was actually produced by He's the same producer that produced the Pink Floyd record, and I thought that was pretty cool because like it's a super weird album, like super like more ambient, like you said, than the rest of it. You know, the rest of their songs. But yeah, I thought Gore was very underrated, but a lot of people didn't like it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that record, man. Prayers, Triangles, Hearts, Wires. I think the last song is Rubicon. I really
Yeah,
like. It's got kind of that doom, doo 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 doo. It's got like a cool groove. It's a really catchy chorus. Yeah, and they played a couple from that one. I'm pretty sure when I saw them with Gojira. But yeah, I think Diamond Eyes will probably always be my favorite. 976 Evil is like a top five Deftones song for me. I love that song so much, man. That's such a great record.
for me, it's Prince off that album.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
off.
dude. Yeah, man. It's such a great album, dude. And obviously, I mean, like White Pony, I would say is probably like their seminal record. Uh, I'm sure a lot of people would have that as their favorite. And I again, I love their discography. Cherry Waves is an awesome one off of Saturday Night Wrist. Um,
Yeah,
Hole in the Earth was probably like the big one, I think. I think on that record. But they did a song with Surge on the Tankian on that one too.
yeah, it's Maine or Mine or something like that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, they're sick, man. And it's crazy when you look back even on a record like I think it was '03 with they had Minerva on there and like
Oh yeah, the self-titled.
yeah, that self-titled record, man, like um for being like 22 years old now, I feel like there's a lot of stuff they're doing on that album in particular too that people are doing today. Some of the riff like the riff work on that one.
Those and Pins
Yes.
with
Yeah, that's a sick record, man. There's some heavy moments on that one.
Hexagram,
Yeah.
uh, Moana. Yeah, there's a bunch of good tracks.
Yeah, riff wise, and I think I read when they and I promise we'll get to a moment's notice, but it's cool to geek out on Deftones. I know they don't need our help, like they're doing great, but
Yeah,
but no, it's just cool that they were kind of a foundational band for you too, man. Because I like I said, I started like in my early 20s with them and just worked my way back, and I really love the atmosphere with them. But yeah, their catalog I feel like is super influential, and even apps like oh yeah, Minerva. Sorry, I'm looking at it now. I pulled it up. Yeah, When Girls Telephone Boys, Good Morning Beautiful, Hexagram. Yeah, Battle Axe. Yeah, that's such a good record, man. Um, but yeah, I feel like I don't know if it's apps like TikTok have helped maybe kind of put bands like Deftones on to like younger fans. Even a band like Super Heaven, has kind of had like a huge resurgence and stuff, you know. Um, what's that like for you guys as like a newer band with like social media and kind of the balance with that? Because I feel like for bands like Deftones, like obviously they've been around for a really long time now, but it's wild how some of these songs or some of these riffs reach new fans and younger fans, you know?
yeah. For us, like, I mean, social media, it's always been like a kind of like a foundation, like a lot of, I mean, every band nowadays uses it, like there's nobody that doesn't use it. So, I mean, we try to keep up with our social media just to help out our platform. And every once in a while, I like sit there and think to myself, like, how did these bands do it back in the day when there was no internet around?
Yeah, I guess it's just like the whole like flyers and word of mouth and playing everywhere, which I mean I'm sure that's like I think maybe social media is kind of taken the place of a lot of that, you know. Like I remember hearing an interview with Eddie Van Halen, which it's crazy to think about now, but like there was a time when they were you know, when they were coming up, it was like a big disco era, and people really like the labels weren't really interested in rock bands, and he said they just played like anywhere and everywhere. And I think before they were signed, they sold out like an arena in Anaheim or something, he was saying. And at that point, then people were like, "Oh, I guess this Van Halen band is pretty good." So it is crazy. Like, you know, as fans, we kind of find out a lot about bands, unless you're like a real music nerd, you know, and going to shows like in your local scene and stuff.
Mhm.
Like, people don't find out about somebody until they've signed with somebody or until they had like a song that broke through. And I think maybe that's kind of what's cool about social media is you do see bands on the come up, and like the algorithms and stuff can help put you on to bands, um, you know, that like are in your wheelhouse, and even some of the streaming apps, like that's what's kind of cool is they can kind of put you on to stuff that maybe would be harder to discover. But yeah, I think back in the day it was just like flyers, shows, playing backyards, which people are still doing that stuff now, you know, but I
Yeah.
think social media can maybe help get you out there a little bit more. So for you, man, this band, A Moment's Notice, formed in 2021. How can you talk about kind of the genesis of how you guys came to be? Because I feel like in a short period of time, man, like listening into the music you guys have put out, like the sound is awesome. And I'm not just saying that because you're kind enough to do the show, dude, but what was the genesis of this band in Sacramento, man?
So they started out, yeah, they started out in 2021, and it was originally our vocalist a side project. And yeah, side project, internet project. And he formed it with Nick Miller of A Skylit Drive. And that came to, him getting a full lineup. And him and Nick, I think they wrote a few songs together, and that was kind of how it all started. And um and then I their original bassist didn't work, so then I got recruited, and that's how I came to be.
Hell yeah, man. Like I went back and listened to the songs that have been put out so far, and some of my favorites. I love the new one, Silver Lining Part Two, that just came out in January, but I also really loved like End the Cycle, Timekeeper, So This Is Dreaming, Offerings. The video for that was sick too.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Under the Skyline, Endless Waltz. Like there's several of them that I really enjoyed, man. But yeah, I think it's cool too because you guys, I feel like there's some fun moments. There's some of those like alarm clocky type riff moments, like the and then there's like the a mix of harmonics. There's good atmosphere. The chorus and the cycle, the melody in that is really sick. Um, how much fun is it has it been for you to join up and like learn all these songs, man? Because there's a lot of different elements I feel like in here between like, you know, heavy moments and breakdowns and metalcore influence, but also a lot of atmosphere and a lot of melody too, man.
Yeah, I mean, as an original, like originally, I started out playing guitar, and I played bass in this band. And when it started, I was just kind of like, okay, I'll learn the stuff that's being written, which was like Timekeeper, Under the Skyline, the first set of songs that we put out. And it's been fun, man. And I will say that, they always say, oh, if you can play guitar, you can play bass, right? It's always the saying with you know with everybody. But as a official bassist now, I've learned that there's way a way different technique. I mean, not a right way to play it, but there's a certain way. And we have new songs coming out like Silver Lining, the Silver Lining Part 2 that came out. All the new songs are more technical, so on the bass, I am playing maybe 75% of what the guitarist is playing now. And it's only a guitar and a bassist now. We used to have two guitarists, so it's definitely been more of a challenge for me, but it's been fun.
So playing bass in this band, man, are there any you mentioned the technique um and I was trying to see in the background like if that was like a 7 string guitar you had, but like, and we were talking about yeah, that's
Yeah,
sick, man. Is that
that's
a
actually Stephen Carpenter from Deftones edition.
nice, man? That's sick.
Yeah, and then I'm an LTD enthusiast.
Nice, man. Yeah, because playing like a 7 8 string, or even when people play 9 strings, like the dexterity you have to have on like your fret hand, like I'm sure is you really are like stretching your fingers out. So in this band, are you playing a 5 string bass?
Yeah, I'm playing a 5 string ESP LTD. It's in the case, but I actually just I'm waiting for my new custom 6 string bass to come in, and it's being built by EGW Guitars from Washington.
Awesome, man. How'd you find them?
My bandmates kind of found like they found them, they saw videos on them and stuff, and I believe our guitarist got a guitar from them too. So
Sick, man. So for you, making that transition as far as playing bass, technique wise, you were talking about it a little bit. Like obviously, there's some people who play with their fingers. There's some people who thump, like Fieldy from Corn would really. He had like that slap technique and was really
yeah,
rhythmic. Kind of had his own thing going. Guys like Ryan from Mudvayne, like super technical, all kinds of crazy stuff he could play. Like, is there anybody technique wise with the kind of style that you guys play that's like that you watch or that you try to look for? Or, what's that been like for you as you've been learning these songs, and like you said, now that it's you and one other guitarist?
yeah. So me personally, like I've been looking at a lot of videos by like Tosin Abasi, and there's this Mexican guitarist. His name is Jose Macario, and he plays that flamenco style, thump. And they use all different techniques. Javier from Animals as Leaders, Javier Reyes. There's a band called that I recently discovered. They're called the Omnific, and it's two basses and a drummer. And they're an instrumental band, kind of like Polyphia, But there's two bass players, and I've been taking a lot of like tips from those specific artists. So
What was the last one called? That's pretty sick. I don't think I've ever seen a lineup like that.
they're called the Omnific, and yeah, it's two bass players and a drummer.
That's awesome, dude. I'll have to check that out. I love when bands kind of mix it up like that. And every now and again too, you'll see like a two-piece. I don't know if you're familiar with and I'm pretty sure they're from California. You familiar with Middle Class Rut? I don't know that they put out anything new in a minute, but they're a two-piece. And it's just like awesome rock and roll band, dude. They had an album that came out in 2000, I think it was 2011, called No Name, No Color. Amazing record. Amazing record.
I'll have to check that out. I thought you were gonna mention there's a two-piece band out here um that has like the same description. They're called We Are Standards, and it's a guitarist and a drummer.
We Are Standards.
Yeah.
See, this is why I love doing this, man, because I find out about stuff that awesome artists that I wouldn't find out about otherwise. But yeah, Middle Class Strut is they're sick, man. I think when they were playing live, they eventually added. like a few more guys, but when I saw him in Toledo, I'm pretty positive it was just the two of them. And I
Oh,
did a chance with did a phone interview going into that show, but it was crazy how much music was coming out of those dudes, man. It was awesome. Yeah, Middle Class Rut is dope, but yeah, man, I said, and I feel like in a relatively short period of time, the stuff that you guys are doing is really awesome, and playing shows with the aforementioned A Skylit Drive, Enterprise Earth, Fallujah, Saltwound, numerous others. And I guess just on that note, one of the things that Joe told me about you that I wanted to talk about with you, man. And actually, one of my mentors and one of the first guys that got me into broadcasting was a diabetic. But Joe mentioned that you're diabetic, and um, that you'll do dialysis without missing a show. So you're a trooper, man. But for people who aren't aware, man, of kind of what that's like as somebody that's diabetic, like, has this been something you've been dealing with since you were a kid? Like what's that like being a musician and touring and kind of dealing with the challenges that come with that, man?
so I got diagnosed with diabetes in when I was 2. I'm 33 now, and so it's been an everyday thing for me for my whole life, and uh I started playing music around 12 or 13, and I didn't start my first band until I was maybe 15 or 16, and that's when we started playing shows, and it started becoming a little more challenging for me personally because you know diabetes doesn't stop. You have to take it out on the road. It's with you everywhere. You just can't be like, hey, I'm going to take a break today. So it was okay for for the most part over the years, and then back to the pandemic. I in 2020, what was it, 2022? Yeah, it was right before A Moment's Notice played our first show. I got diagnosed with COVID, and me having a compromised immune system, the virus took out my remaining kidney function. So that's why I'm on dialysis now. And with A Moment's Notice, we didn't start touring until after I got diagnosed with all that, after I started doing dialysis. So um, that was all new to me. And I didn't know whether I was going to make it or not. Like, I was getting close to like quitting, being like, hey, I'm not going to be able to do this. But I didn't take no for an answer. And here I am now.
Dude, that's wild, man. I'm glad you made it through that. Damn, that's crazy. I don't even know where to start with that, because yeah, COVID, it was such a gnarly time. But like you said, having a compromised immune system already, were you in the hospital for a while? Like how well how like I mean, and I don't mean this in like an incendiary or like a shock jock kind of way, but I mean, how bad did it get? Like, did you have to get hooked up to a ventilator or anything?
So believe it or not, it was during the summer, midsummer. So I was in my mom's living room in a couch for 3 weeks. I couldn't get out of bed. And no, I raw dogged it. I was like, okay, and then I finally got over the virus, and um I fell into the hospital because I didn't feel a low blood sugar, and I woke up to like paramedics over me and stuff. Like, we recommend you to go to the hospital. There's something wrong with you. This is not right. So I wasn't gonna go just because of my stubbornness, but something told me to go, and so I went, and that's when they're like, "Yeah, your kidneys are pretty much like done. Like, they're not completely done, but they're not strong enough to, be on their own." So
Yeah, man. Well, I'm glad you made it through that, dude. Because yeah, I think that's what was crazy about COVID too, is it seemed like, and I work in healthcare during the day, but you'd hear gnarly stories like that about younger people. Because at first it just, when it, it all kind of seems like a blur now that it's wild. It's been 5 years. It's been half a decade since it. Right as we're recording this, like it was like early March when I first started hearing about it in 2020, and people were like, "Ah, it's just a cold. It's a this or it's a that," and then it was like, "Oh, it's only if you're like old or vulnerable or have like comorbidities." And then you started hearing about younger people getting taken out by it, and that's where I was like, "Whoa," you know. And it seemed like it it would exacerbate, like if you had a pre-existing condition, like it would like exacerbate it with or attack it, for lack of a better way of saying it. So for people who aren't aware, man, and thanks again for the time, dude. Because I think it's like a good awareness thing. And
Yeah.
like I said, I used to work with one of my the guy, one of the first guys that got me into broadcasting. Shout out Mick Gonzalez. He was a diabetic, and I just remember times doing like broadcasts with him, and he was a trooper too, man. He would go from his day job in healthcare to doing games, and he would do play by play, and just a tough cookie, man. But um I could tell the times too where he'd come in for an early morning radio show, and I could see where it was just like, he looked fatigued, you know what I mean? So for you, man, like how are things now? I think Joe mentioned that you do have a kidney transplant scheduled. Like how is it working now post COVID, um, doing dialysis and everything?
So, yeah, I have a live donor, and it's a close friend of mine who decided to go through all the the blood work and tests and all that, and she had turned out to be a match. And right now, I'm going through like the final like tests, to make sure that like my body will take it, and I'll survive, and stuff like that, and my heart pressure, all that stuff. So, um, honestly, like it'll be 3 years in July that I'm on dialysis. Um, it's unfortunately became a normal thing for me, I guess you can say, kind of like diabetes. So like it's not that I don't mind it, like I hate it, but I don't know, I guess I've just learned to deal with it. So
So what's like the daily routine, man? Or does it kind of like vary depending on the day, or do you just try to really watch like your diet and your fluids? Or
yeah, I have to watch a lot of my like especially fluids because my kidneys can't process a lot anymore. I gotta stay away from a lot of a lot of good food. Oranges, bananas. I'm Mexican, so I love guacamole. I gotta stay away from avocados, tomatoes, and a lot of stuff. And it's over the past few years, it's been a real challenge because I love food. I love eating. So and as far as like my daily routine, I do dialysis 3 times a week, 3.5 hours a day. And whenever I'm not at dialysis, I'm just trying to stay active, trying to get stuff done because I'm disabled. Legally, I'm not allowed to work. So I used to be a tow truck driver, so that's torture for me. Not going from doing so much every day to not doing anything. So been trying to keep myself sane, I guess.
dang, man, I'm sorry, but I mean, I think the positive though, man, like you said, living to tell the tale through COVID, and being in this band and doing your thing is pretty inspiring, man. Especially for people listening, to not let it interfere with your dreams and what you want to do. As you mentioned a little bit ago, that it got to a point where it was so tough where you didn't know if you could keep doing it. What was the turning point, Sergio, to keep going, man?
Um, the turning point for me was really just seeing every day. You walk into a you walk into a dialysis clinic, and the main thing that you see is, people in wheelchairs, people not being able to walk, missing their feet or their toes or whatever. And that scares me. Like, and I think that was, for me, it told me, like, I don't want to be that. Like, I don't want to be like that. Like, especially at my age, those are usually older people. And I think I'm probably the youngest patient there. But, it doesn't matter. I've learned, if anything that I've learned is that, it doesn't matter how old you are, whatever age you're at. Like, if it hits you, it hits you. And just seeing how there's some people that just can't do anything for themselves anymore. I told myself, like, I don't want to be that person. Like, especially with this music thing. Like, I told myself I'm gonna keep doing this until I literally physically can't anymore. So
That's really inspired, man. And I'm glad you didn't quit, dude. And I'm glad that you're talking to me. I appreciate it. I mean, and just on this topic, and thank you for sharing your journey with me and the listeners, dude. Like, is there anything that you would want, like, just the average person in terms of like awareness, or just as somebody, like you said, you're 2 years old when you got diagnosed with diabetes, like, so you've lived with this, your whole life. Um, is there is there anything you would want to share with maybe like the average person who doesn't know too much about diabetes, and what it's like to kind of combat it, or resources for people who maybe are newly diagnosed as being diabetic?
um my my main like advice for, especially the younger generation out there, I see a lot of younger kids come out to our shows and stuff, and I love seeing that kind of stuff because I'm like, oh, I used to be that person. And I've met a few diabetics out there, younger diabetics that follow us and look up to us. And all I can say is, when times are tough, don't take no for an answer, because if you do, then you're gonna fail. Like, if you don't, you keep fighting, and trust me, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And for me to say that, that's a few years ago I wouldn't have said that, but everything that's just happened in my life over the past few years, like, it things seem so hopeless at times, and then something will happen to where they're like, okay, there's hope. There's always hope. And I'll forever, tell people that, like, there's always hope.
Hell yeah, man. And shout out to you. You said it's a friend of yours who's the donor.
Yes, my friend Tracy Hagan. Thank you.
That's awesome, man. So as far as that process, if you don't mind me asking, and again, I don't want to be invasive, but so you do have like the transplant scheduled? Like, how does that work out as far as once you have a donor and a match? Because I know that's kind of like a long process.
Yeah, and it's been a long process. I don't have like a set date yet. I think they're waiting for all these tests to, like, come back okay, for them to be like, okay, cool, like, now we can schedule you, like, you're good. We for sure know that you're gonna be okay. Um, so hopefully, I'm hoping, from what I've been hearing from my social worker, is that by, if not the end of this month, maybe the middle of it, I'll have an answer. So
Well, I'm glad you got a match, man, and I'm glad you're still kicking butt, dude. It's inspiring, for people, and that's really why I love doing this show, man. Because there's one quote that I kind of live by is you know um be kind to, I'm paraphrasing it, but be kind to everyone you meet because somebody's going through something that you don't know anything about, you know.
right.
And it's just important to, the golden rule, treat people the way that you want to be treated. But it's just a reminder, man, like everybody has different struggles, different ailments, whether they're physical, whether they're mental. spiritual. And it's been a wild ride these last few years with COVID. Like it's the only thing I can think. And I'm not, we're pretty close in age. I'll be 37. And I know you just celebrated a birthday recently, so again, happy belated birthday, man. But so yeah, we're pretty close in age, man, and I can't think of anything else in my life that had like a global impact that really kind of leveled everything for everybody and kind of made everybody reset. And it was one of the first, I think, and probably only times in my life where I was like, man, it really doesn't matter like how much money you make or like what your job is or where you live. Like it affected everybody to different levels.
Right.
Um, and I think it kind of made a lot of people sort of take stock and kind of look in the mirror at where their life was and where they wanted it to go. And that maybe was like if there was a silver lining in something as terrible as COVID, it was that is it kind of made people go, okay, like after we kind of come out of this and we kind of learn how to deal with it and live with it, how do we want to proceed? So it's really motivating and inspiring, man, to hear that you're still doing it and keep doing it, man. Because again, I think a moment's notice, you guys are just scratching the surface, dude. The singles have been awesome, and again, Silver Lining Part Two is sick. And is that your first one with? Is that your guys' first one as a part of the Overshadow family?
Yes, that's our first Overshadow.
And
And then
how'd y'all link up with them, man? Oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
oh no, it's all good. We linked up with them. Our vocalist, submitted our music to a few labels out there, and he's friends with Joe, so it was kind of like a foot in the door, and they decided to pick us up, so that was cool.
Yeah, man, I really love the new one. Like you said, it's technical, but it still has like the melody and it still has like that crunchiness, man. And I think that's what's cool, man. It's like metal's in a really healthy spot. There's so many awesome bands right now. And the technical abilities of so many bands is really sick, man. But and I don't know if y'all singer is into like Deftones and Corn and stuff like we are, man. But I think that's what's cool about what you guys are doing. Like I was saying earlier when we first started talking, rather is there's a lot of different elements I feel like in y'all's sound when listening to it that I really enjoy. Like a song like End the Cycle, like there's a huge melodic chorus in that one. And then you've got another one like Offerings or Under the Skyline where it's heavier. That riff is really crunchy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what's really cool is the diversity of the music that you guys have put out so far. There's different areas that you guys go with your sound, and I think that's really sick.
Yeah.
Is that part of what drew you to join in the band? Is kind of the diversity of what they're doing?
So what got me to join the band? It's funny. At the time, I just wanted to play music, and uh, since the pandemic was happening, I didn't know when we would have live music again. So I was ready to just like build a little home studio and just kind of pump out songs like that. And then I got hit up by these guys, and I was like, oh, cool. Maybe this is like a sign for me to get back into it. So that's how that happened.
Well, I'm glad it all worked out, man. Because again, I think the future's bright. I don't want to let the cat out the bag with anything that you guys have planned that you haven't announced yet, but is there anything you can tell myself and the listeners about what's in store for 2025? Because as we're talking, I think it's been just over a month now, right? That Silver Lining Part Two came out. That was January 24th, I believe, if my research serves me right. And we're talking on February 25th. So, uh, without spilling anything you don't want to spill, man, what's on deck in 2025, man?
Gee, where to get started with that? We've got a lot. in the talks, in the plans and the um in the works. We have a few shows coming up. We have another release coming up too. Um, and then we have a possible tour. And as far as anything else, we just kind of we're waiting to see what the label has in plans for us.
Heck yeah, man. And for you, and thanks again so much, Sergio, for taking the time to do this, dude. I really appreciate it. For you, is there any prep that you do that's maybe different than daily life for tour?
Oh yeah, it can get a little overwhelming sometimes, but it's nothing no anybody can't handle. I personally, what I have to do is I have to grab the dates for where we're at, and I have to call clinics around those areas to get dialysis there. And it can get pretty stressful because of like, scheduling openings and times and hey, are we gonna get there in time? Like because we're driving a van with the trailer around, wherever we're at, so it can get pretty stressful for me. But uh, to this day, it hasn't been impossible. So it's been brutal on my body, but doesn't kill you, makes you stronger, right? Like Corey Taylor said.
Hell yeah, man. Are there any you mentioned like having to switch up the diet and stuff? But is there any food, Sergio, that maybe you didn't eat when you were younger that you find yourself eating now, or just kind of post COVID and kind of where you're at now with dialysis that you're like, man, I never touched that before, but I actually really enjoy that now?
Yeah, a lot of vegan based food, just because of like my kidneys can't really handle proteins, and I try to stay away from like red meat now and a lot of that kind of stuff. So a lot of vegan food, I'm very grateful for it because it's all plant based. So um I was never against it, but I was always just kind of like, if I don't have to eat it, I don't have to eat it. But now it's like, okay. And my our vocalist is vegan too, so that helps out.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy too. Like, there's so many like good vegan dishes and stuff that I see. You know what I mean? Like you said, and I think just like diet wise, like we all kind of start with whatever we ate growing up in the house with our parents and stuff. You know what I mean? And like growing up in the Midwest for me, it was real kind of like Irish on my mom's side. So it's a lot of like meat and potatoes and stew and like sandwiches and lunch meat and all that stuff. And then as I got older, I kind of moved away from that and like you know, but yeah, there's a lot of really good vegan dishes, man. And even stuff like tofu and stuff. Like, you could give somebody tofu and if it's really good and it's really well prepared, like I don't know if they could tell, like if you didn't tell them it was tofu, they probably wouldn't know the difference from like some like really good barbecue chicken or something.
Yeah, no, definitely. I uh, I recently found out that the tacos at Jack in the Box are made with tofu. It's not actual meat, and I'm like, what? That's freaking delicious.
That's wild, man. Well, before we officially put a button on it, man, again, Sergio, thank you so much for taking the time, dude. It's and I appreciate you sharing your story with myself and the listeners, man. And you're welcome back anytime. And I'm definitely gonna be thinking about you. And I'm excited for you guys, man. Like I said, I think what you guys are doing is sick, and I'm glad you were able to link up with cool people like Joe and Overshadow and yeah, there's a lot of good people in heavy music right now, man. And again, shout out to Mark Rosenfeld who linked me up with Joe. But any last words you want to in terms of piece of advice or just or free shout outs, what anything you want to leave the people with, man.
Yeah. There's a few things. For one, I want to give a huge shout out to my bandmates and our whole team. I don't without them, especially my bandmates. I don't think I'd be doing this. I've been ready to throw in the towel many times, and dialysis it also comes with a lot of emotions, unfortunately, and I know I can I can be a lot to handle sometimes. So I really appreciate everyone out there that's worked with me. A big shout out to Nick Miller and the boys in A Skylit Drive for always believing in us. And big shout out to Joe and Overshadow, Shan, Chris, all those guys. Because if it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't be here. And as far as like anybody else going through it, whether it's diabetes, dialysis, cancer, MS, whatever it is, don't give up, because if you're not gonna, if you're not gonna do it for yourself, do it for the people around you, because it's crazy how much we matter to everyone. Even though sometimes you feel like, oh, I don't matter to anybody, I hate my life, it'd be better off if I was gone. That's never the truth, And I've got a son, so shout out to him, because he's the main reason I'm still here. So
Sergio, I really appreciate the time, man. You're inspiring me to keep going and chasing my dreams too, man. And I know the listeners are gonna dig this one, dude. So thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime. And even if you want to like DM me, geek out about Deftones or other bands that you're checking out, let me know, man. I'm really excited for you guys, and I can't wait to see what else is in store for 2025, man.
definitely, I appreciate you, Mike.
Alrighty, dighty, there you have it. That was my conversation with Sergio Vega, bassist of A Moment's Notice. Make sure you go follow these guys on Instagram at A Moment's Notice Official, and follow Sergio on Instagram at Sergio_AMN. The links to all of their stuff will be in the podcast description for this episode. So just scroll down to the bottom of it, okay? Check out those links and go follow and support Sergio and A Moment's Notice. You will not be disappointed if you love headbangage, if you love metalcore, if you love meaningful lyrics, if you love awesome musicianship. Once again, their latest single, Blood War, is out now, available everywhere you get your music. It came out back on March 14th. But go back and listen to that bad catalog too. Go back and listen to Lotus, the EP that came out back in 2022. Just in terms of their whole catalog, some of my favorites that I love Blood War, obviously the new one. I love Silver Lining Part 2, Light the Way, So This Is Dreaming. I really love End the Cycle. If I had to pick a favorite, End the Cycle, I really love that one in addition to the new ones. But Under the Skyline is great. So many awesome tracks, man. So shout out to all the guys in A Moment's Notice. And shout out to Sergio. I just want to say directly to Sergio, thanks so much, man, for taking the time to come on this podcast and share your journey with myself and the listeners. You are truly the embodiment of March 4th, of perseverance, of moving forward. It really was inspiring me to continue doing what I'm doing, man, and to continue to push forward through the things that I battle with. Thinking about you going out and playing shows and doing dialysis and still getting on stage and ripping, dude. Like it's really inspiring, and I'm happy to hear that you have a transplant coming, and just that things are on the up and up, man, as far as the band and where things are trending in 2025, brother. So you are welcome back anytime. Not just because we're fans of Deftones as well, and we have a lot of music in common, but I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing your story with the listeners, because it is truly inspiring. And I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for Joe of Overshadow. Thanks again, Joe, for getting in touch with me, man. I'm really excited to see what Overshadow continues to do in 2025 and moving forward. You've already got an awesome roster, and shout out to my buddy Mark. I love you, dude, and I appreciate you referencing me to Sergio and Joe, and I'm excited to see the Overshadow family continue to grow and continue to expand their imprint, man, because it's already a sick lineup, and I'm really excited for what y'all have in store. And I'm just grateful all the way around, man. Like, again, to put a button on this bad boy, when I think about these last 5 years, this has probably been one of the more eventful kickoffs to a decade in my life, man. And I'm 37. When I think about the 20s, you know what I mean? And just kind of how we all started it with COVID, and kind of where things were and what my life looked like 5 years ago and what it looks like now. And I'm just incredibly grateful for, again, everybody who's been on this journey with me. People like Mark, people like Joe, people like Sergio, all the other guests, excuse me, that I've had on the podcast to this point, man. I'm just so humbled and grateful. People like Johnny Zirkle, who continue to send me great artists. So many people, man. If I continue to name names, then I'm going to feel bad that I forgot somebody. But all my close friends and family who listen to the show, gratitude is such a powerful energy. And I'll leave y'all with this, man. I try to really hack my Instagram algorithm so that I see positive content. Obviously, there's a lot of awful stuff on social media, and I try to stay away from it. So my algorithm is mostly shoes and music and bands and nature and animals and inspirational stuff because of this podcast and the stuff that I like, right? And I saw this clip a few weeks ago, and it looked like it was old, like from the 50s, and I think the guy was a neurophysicist or something like that. I know I'm already butchering it. I'm not even getting his job title right or his profession right. But it was really cool because he was talking about how if you hold a thought for at least 17 seconds, you will bring more energy into your reality that matches that thought, right? So if you have bad thoughts, right, or just negative energy, my day's bad, the traffic stinks, work stinks today, I got this, but you'll attract more energy just like that. Versus, right, if you have positive thoughts or positive visions or positive affirmations and you hold those in your mind, you will, if you hold it for at least 17 seconds, according to this guy, you will attract more energy in that vein. And it's stuff that I think we've all heard before. I've definitely heard it before in terms of like, hey, the power of manifestation, the secret, and the law of what is it, affirmation, all those things, abundance. But I've learned, man, over this journey that I've been on these past few years, how true that really is. Like if you visualize what you want or how you want to approach things, if you visualize the things that make you happy, the things that you like about yourself, and you learn to look at all of your thoughts as passing clouds, but especially the intrusive ones and the negative ones, man, life gets so much better. And staying in a grateful mindset and having gratitude for what's truly important in your life. I mean, if you really sat down and looked at all of the amazing things that you have, somebody told me recently, if you have running water and electricity and you eat today, you're doing better than 98, 99% of the world, that doesn't have running water, that can't flip a switch and just turn on lights, you know what I mean? And eat every single day and have multiple meals every single day. You know what I mean? So we have a lot to be grateful for, y'all. So if I can leave you with anything, it's be grateful. Again, Sergio's story to officially put a button on this bad boy. Look at what he's battling through, man, and he's still chasing his dreams, playing the music that he loves, and he's not letting, being a diabetic or going through dialysis slow him down, man. So I hope it inspired you as much as it inspired me. I'm fired up, and I hope that this is giving you some pep in your step this week. So once again, everybody, go follow A Moment's Notice at A Moment's Notice Official on Instagram. Follow Sergio at Sergio_AMN on Instagram. If you enjoyed that conversation, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, engage with the content on social media when we put it out. All that stuff goes a long way in helping the show get out to more people, leaving a rating and review on whatever streaming service you listen to. And that's what I want, man. I want more people to find out about guys like Sergio in A Moment's Notice and get inspired to chase their dreams, man, because if you get one life to live, you might as well go for what you love. So on that note, I'm going to officially wrap it up by saying what I say at the end of every episode as a tribute to my grandpa and my gram. Keep the faith and be kind to one another and be kind to yourselves. Courtesy of Sergio and A Moment's Notice, here is their latest single, Blood War. Peace.